The little girl just wanted to hug her mother, but her mother told her to get lost. She was very aggrieved to see the child in front of her. The more she thought about it, the angrier she became. But when her mother turned around, her brother disappeared into thin air. Her mother looked for him like crazy, asking her where her brother had gone, and she just subconsciously looked at the sofa. The sound of her brother's cries came from below. Mom got down on the floor and looked through the crack, found that her son was really inside, but the gap was so small. How did her son get in? She rushed to her husband for help. It took them a lot of effort to get her son out. Then they stared at her with strange eyes, but the young girl didn't know what had just happened. The little girl was so innocent, trying to sleep away her troubles, but then something strange happened. The mother was happy to give her son a bath. She just went to her room to get a towel, but when she came back, her son was gone. Mom stayed in the same place, not knowing what to do. When her father found out, he barged into her room in a rage. He told her to stop pretending to sleep and give her brother to him. But she went back to her room and kept sleeping, and she kept having nightmares. She didn't know where her brother had gone. Dad started to look all over the house for her brother. This time, she checked under the sofa. He wasn't there. She started to get desperate. In a trance, a picture suddenly appeared in the little girl's mind. Under the thick ice surface, she saw a small fish swimming along. Very lost, it was very much like her. She had a sudden thought. If her brother could play with a little fish would be very happy. Did her brother go to look for the little fish? Thinking about this, the girl became afraid. She went to the ice despite the cold. When her father found her, he stopped her, asked her if she had found her brother. She slowly pointed to the far side of the ice, but the lake had frozen over a month ago. Isn't this a joke? But the father chose to take a look anyway. Little did he know that his son was really floating on the water under the ice. Dad was devastated. He pounded on the thick ice with all his might, but the ice remained motionless. Mom was devastated when she found out over the railing to break the ice, but she accidentally fell and became disabled. Dad had strong opinions about her. After thinking about it for a long time, he finally made up his mind. That day the father took his daughter to go hunting. They ran on the ice for a whole day. Finally they came to the forest. There they found a merganser. Strangely enough, it didn't run. Instead, it stayed where it was. Dad grabbed a pistol and prepared to shoot it. The innocent girl was so scared that she stood still, but she did not know that her father had already aimed the gun at her. Dad thought for a long time but couldn't bear it. After all, she was his own daughter, and the deer seemed to realize something, happy to run away, but the girl didn't realize what her father had just done to her. The girl was in class. A flock of crows suddenly flew outside the window. One by one, they crashed into the glass with all their might, and her right hand began to tremble. She looked around secretly. She used her left hand to hold her right hand down, but it didn't help at all. Even her body began to tremble violently. Finally, she couldn't hold on and fell to the ground. The students next to her were terrified. The girl was then taken to the hospital. The doctor conducted a thorough examination on her, but no problem was found. The doctors could not do anything about it. After this, she became a laughingstock in the eyes of her classmates. Her mental state was getting worse and worse. Every day she had nightmares in her sleep. She woke up from her dreams again and again. She tried to get rid of the nightmare. She went to see her favorite show, but today she was extremely nervous. What's even stranger is that the chandelier overhead would follow her emotions, as if it could fall down at any moment. She had no choice but to use swimming to reduce stress. As she swam, something strange happened again. The lights of the swimming pool suddenly flashed flat. Follow the light to see. She found a man was busy with something. As she was watching, an accident happened. She began to shake all over again, gradually lost consciousness, and slowly sank into the bottom of the pool. The critical moment, she suddenly woke up and tried to swim to the surface, but the pool was already closed by barbed wire. She banged hard, hoping someone would hear her, but the man had disappeared. She was lonely, but didn't want to die. A strong desire to live came to her mind. Just then, the barbed wire fence suddenly disappeared. She managed to swim up. She lay on the edge of the pool and breathed in the air greedily. She couldn't figure out what the hell was going on. When she got home, she searched the internet for clues. The information showed that it was not a disease but a superpower. She told her best friend the news at first, but her girlfriend thought it was not a superpower, but a psychosis. She also hired a doctor for her in the hope that she could be cured. The result is that another strange thing happened there. Just now, a girl turned around, but the window behind her suddenly exploded and disappeared with a girl. And it all had to do with her lying in the hospital bed. The doctor was about to examine her. She started to twitch violently. Her eyes rolled up as if she was thinking about something. What's even stranger is that when she clenched her fist, surprisingly, she flew up like Superman. But when the test results came out, the doctor said she was in good health and told her to go back to rest. She returned to the dormitory with a puzzled face. She found that the glass of the dormitory became unusually bright. A closer look at the middle of the glass was a strand of long hair, but her roommate was gone. The roommate did laugh at her, but just now when she checked her body, she didn't think it would hurt her. She cried and confided in her father. She told her father not to be afraid of the dormitory and to go home. When she got home, she drank a glass of water on the table and passed out. In a trance, Dad's mouth began to mutter about what happened to her when she was a child, blaming her for feeding her brother to the fish, and made her mother disabled. That's why he had been secretly putting drugs in her water, hoping to weaken her powers. Instead, she was harmed. Dad got up the courage to pick up the syringe, but he still chose to give up. After all, she is his own flesh and blood. Dad had no choice but to keep forcing her to take the medicine. She asked her father not to continue, but she didn't know that he had been suffering for 20 years. She began to subconsciously hate her father. She hated him for only caring about her brother when she was a child. She didn't care about her and kept herself in pain. Finally, an accident happened. Dad was out fishing. A flock of crows suddenly flew in the sky. Then his hands started to smoke. The fire got bigger and bigger, gradually spread all over his body, although he could douse the flames by jumping into the water. But as soon as he showed his head, the flames would be all over his body again. Just then, the girl suddenly woke up from the nightmare. She seemed to realize something. She rushed to the lake to look for her father, but she didn't know that her father had gone to be with her brother forever. She didn't want to live without her father. She swam to the bottom of the lake, but she was still washed up on the shore. With a heavy blow, she finally understood the cause and effect. After a life and death experience, this time she was determined to make good use of her superpower. At the end of the story, she gently touched her mother's face. Her mother's leg healed. Back to school, the roommate who disappeared also came back. This time she became confident. She started her new life again.